Truth Matters Broadcasting, where we discern the truth for ourselves about religion, the kingdom of the highest power, our Father who art in heaven, and the church. So this is a network that has been streamed across 4 different networks. Our streaming services, our streaming providers: YouTube and TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Of course, on Facebook and TikTok, you can find me at Meka Al Ban Yaosher Al. On YouTube, you can find me at Michael Soul. I'm still logging there at Michael Soul SR. And the reason why I have not changed that yet is because I have another channel that's also Meka Al Ban Yaosher Al. So I'm going to try to incorporate or switch the channels. But the problem here is I have so much on this channel, and I wanted you guys to see my beginning, how I came from to the understanding I have now, from where I was to where I'm at now. So I keep, airing on that. And on Instagram, you can find me at Meka Al 1. Meka Al 1. I call this, or title this topic, Shake and Bake. And there is a good reason for that. Over the years, I've been preaching the gospel as I know it. I preach what I know. I don't preach what I do not know. I preach the gospel as I know it. And I preached it from a Christianity or Christian perspective. Now, why is that important for you to understand? Because I was raised in a culture of Christianity. It was my belief system. Now, just to rid myself of some of you who are viewing today who won't stick around to hear the rest or the remainder of this, I am no longer a Christian. I do not hold the belief system as a Christian. Now, if you know me in the past, you would know that I was a Christian of Christians. Not only that I baptized people, but I truly went out to spread the gospel of Christ, so-called. And had a band called Channels of Blessings, where not only we preaching the word, but we're singing it too. Baptizing, giving. I can't tell you how many times I open my home to strangers, take them in, live at my house, feed them, get them on their feet, send them back to go fish for themselves. I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm only telling you this so that you can have the discernment that what I'm speaking about is not based upon some cult teaching or some ideology that I now switch to. I got my belief system from the Creator himself. Now, that might be strange to some of you because you've been going to church your whole lives and you've never heard the voice of your Creator. Maybe you have imagined what he sounds like, or maybe you imagine how he speaks to you, or maybe he speaks to you in different ways than he speaks to me. But I was at a place in my life where I was done with Christianity. I was even done with black women. That was the place I was in my life, where I was just done with all of this. I was done with Christianity and I was done with black women. because I was serving a God that didn't really speak to me. Yes, I've done many great things, but the conversation I have seems to be one-sided. I'm doing most of the talking. And the times when I listen, my faith would jock it up to, okay, it is God's will for my life. So if I prayed for something it didn't come true, it's God's will. If I pray for something and it comes true, it's God's will. But I didn't have a relationship. And I read in the Bible where he says, come, let us reason together. So I wanted to understand that fully. Hold on for a second here. I wanted to understand that fully. And what that means for me, ladies and gentlemen, to understand that fully, I have to reach out. But at this point in my life, I turned my back. So I wasn't going to church, still have all the belief, still have all the scriptures in my mind. I was out there doing my own thing, living my own life, going deeper and deeper into the abyss. While I was out there, he sent this beautiful black woman to come rescue me. And that beautiful black woman became my wife today of 19 wonderful years. We've been together 23, 20, between 23 and 25. I can't really remember. But we've been married 19 years. And so my life got restored. And of course, my heart for the Creator got restored. And of course, I went back to what I knew. I went back to church because that's what I knew. I knew church, so I went back there. I got restored. I recommit my life to Jesus, so called. I got my position back in the church. And all was good. I paid my tithes religiously. I give more than just 10%. And I give special tithes, and not only just doing what I do normally, serve people. I'm a servant. At that point, one of the sisters in the church, whose husband actually introduced me to that particular church, came and talked to me that Sunday in the course of time. That Sunday. And she said to me, Michael, what's going to be different? No one ever asked me that question before. No one ever asked me what's going to be different in my walk with God. See, I've been walking, so-called, for now 35 years. Minus the time when I backslid at about 16 till I was 18, 17 plus. And minus the time when I left the church in my late 30s, mid 30s to that time. So minus those times, no one has ever asked me what's going to be different. The way this sister, and I have to say, attacked me. I always say this when I tell the story. If she was a man, I would have punched her in the face. So my life has changed because this sister had the courage to come and ask me this question. My life is changed by a lot of I have some significant women in my life that set me on a course to where I'm at today, starting with my grandmother, and then my mama, and then my wife, then that sister, and then my wife. And then another sister that I would dare to speak, Sister Velda, because Sister Velda changed my life as well. And of course, we have men and, just the kind of things that I've been through that got me to where I'm at today. But that sister challenged me, ladies and gentlemen. And so I have to say, alalo at ya'o for the sisters, man. Hang in there. You guys are strong, and we cannot be real men without you. believe me when I tell you. And she challenged me. And for the first time in my life, I took a look really deep inside of myself. I didn't look to any man, any government, nor even to God. I looked in myself for the first time. And I've asked myself a question. More like a proclamation. I said, I don't know this God I claim to be worshiping all these years. I was very religious. I did the religious things, and I did it well, probably better than most Christians today. I was a Christian of Christians. I was a Christian of Christians because I'm a heart person. I deal with the heart. I operate in love, and anyone who knows me can testify to that. I don't have to testify to myself. You just got to get to know me and you will find out. I operate on heart. I'm a heart man. That's why my name, Michael, who is like unto Yahweh, who is like unto God. I'm going to tell you how my name changed from Michael to Mikael. But I'm giving you my story so that I want you to understand that this ain't no joke. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to win you. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm not trying to convince you. That is the work of the one true God. Only him, because no matter what I say to you, no matter what I do, you cannot come unless he draws you. So I don't preach to convert. I preach a witness, a testimony against you. Because every preach, every message is designed to warn its hearers. That is why the message is repent. If it's not starting with repentance, you're playing church. And I was just tired of playing church. I'm trying to lose the naysayers because I really want to talk to, I just really want to talk to those who really are prepared to listen. You can go back and watch your television, man, and go be programmed by the world. You can go back and get in your phone and just stay on your phone till you fall asleep. But for those who truly want to hear, use your ears, hear, and then make a decision. Because if you hear it and you're not making a decision, it's just like you watch the movie. You just watch the movie. You enjoy it for the moment, but it doesn't. It has no significant change in your life, no significance to your life. And I'm not doing a movie, though I have 5 screen on me. 1, 2, 3, 4 screen on me. I'm not doing a movie. For the first time in my life, I realized I don't know this God. I don't know this God. I thought I know him, but I don't. And when you don't know someone, there's a couple of things you can do. You can go and ask the person, hey, you can go introduce yourself to the person, and you can gather information from those who know that person well. I wanted to know this God, so I reached out to the God himself. I didn't go to a pastor. I didn't go to a preacher. I didn't go to a church, a religion. I wanted to know him. So I went back to the back of my house and I looked up in the heavens and I said these words, I want to know you. And I was sincere. I truly want to know him. And he spoke about 2 or 3 weeks later. I can't remember if it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Later, he spoke to me. And from that day till today, I have been led on a trajectory that brought me to where I'm at today. So I'm going to call this one Shake and Bake. Why? Because the heavens is shaking and the earth is shaking. So let me read some scripture here that I put out to give you 10. Trying to open up this phone, yes. Okay. First scripture comes from Isaiah 13:13. That's Yeshayahu 13, verse 13. And he said, therefore, come on, come on already. Yes. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh, and in the day of his fierce anger. I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh, and in the days of his fierce anger. What is he angry about? What is this God angry about? Let's go to 11. Yeshayahu 13:11. So you got to read in context here, in content. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquities. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. And I will lay low the haziness of the terrible. I will make man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Horace. Therefore, see, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and shall move out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh, and in the days of his fierce anger. We got to understand these things, because when you understand these things, you realize there's some things that has to take place that has not taken place yet. And when you are part of a religion, this religion is going to keep you in a box. And in order for you to see the truth and see the Father, you got to get outside the box and know him for yourself. That is why Truth Matters Broadcasting is a place where a platform, a network where you can discern some things for yourself by hearing it and make up your own mind. No sense try to fight me, because you cannot convert me. You cannot stop me. So don't fight me. If you believe different from me, then so be it. You have that right. I'm not going to take that away from you. You have that right. But I want you to understand, and I want you to know that what I'm saying to you is not based upon some religion that I practice or some cult that I'm in. It's based upon information given to me by the Creator. And that's what led me to where I'm at today. So after this encounter with this sister that changed my life, to ask myself the question, do you really know God? Do you know him? Because one person would say, well, what does he look like? One person would say, show me him. You know, in the scriptures, show us God. If I was to describe him today, what would I say he looked like? How would I describe him to you? And if he's Ruach, if he's spirit, I can't see spirit. But I look at myself, and he says he created man in his own image and in his own likeness. So the question there, the discernment in my mind, if I create a dog in my own image, then the dog had to look like me. Does that make sense? The dog has to look like me. When I come together to procreate with my wife, coitus, and we have a child, the child's supposed to resemble both of us. Sometimes he takes off the father, sometimes he takes off the mother, depending on the genes. But your creation's supposed to look just like you. It's supposed to have your characteristics. So when I looked at what my God look like. He's supposed to look like me. My whole life, I was taught that blonde hair guy, that blue eye guys, sometimes they change his hair to dark. Sometimes they change his eye color to brown. Sometimes it's hazel. But his skin remained the same. This white man, I was told, is my God. And for years, I rolled with it. Because that's all I had. But when you start asking questions, and when you start doing research, and when you start praying for insight, and he started to open your mind, and you're now on a trajectory that you yourself can't even stop it. And you start getting information that just rock you to the core and destroy the foundation of that which you call your faith. What do? You got to follow it down that rabbit hole to see how far it goes. And so when I prayed for insight, what I got was turn to the first page of the Bible. I was brought by Yahweh to the first page of the Bible. Because that's all I had. And that's what was my request. I want to know you from the scriptures. Because you know what? I didn't trust the word of men. I didn't trust someone telling me their opinion based upon their information, based upon their culture, based upon their religion, based upon their understanding. I wanted my own personal understanding. I was done with someone telling me what to think, how to think, what to believe, and how to believe. I was done with that. I wanted him. If I'm going to worship you, you got to talk to me. Because when I go out and open my mouth, I must speak what I know, not what I heard, not what I think, not my opinion or the opinion of others, but what I know, what I experience. So when I come before you, I'm only speaking my experience. Now, when I talk about this white skin, blonde hair, blue eye guy being a black man, you would think I'm racist. But if you really look up the word racist, if you really look up the word and study it and see where it comes from, you will understand that there's no way on earth a black man could be racist. You see me in my understanding, and you call my family a cult, that we're in some sort of cult. You don't even look up the word. And if you were to look at history and look at cult, you would see that black men are no cults. Go look at the history and see where the cult leaders come from. We don't have a history of killing people. It's not our history. So you're going to have to look it up and see where it comes from. So someone asked me, are you racist? Because I understand the word racist, I love my race. And when I was a Christian, I never embellished that. Because most of the people who was talking to me, most of the people who was leading me was white. So if I stand up for my race and stand up for who I am as a black man, it's going to seem like I'm going up against those who are not black. But if you know me, you know I got love for every man, every person, whether you white, black, blue, red, green. I could never be racist, even if I tried. I was 18 years old the first time I heard the word racist. Didn't even know what it meant, and I was 18 years old. Finished high school, went through all high school. I did not know what the word racist means. So don't ask me if I'm racist. Get to know me and find out for yourself. But the positive side of that is that I love my race. And I start to learn about me by asking this God, who am I? Why do you created me? What is my purpose? And once I get to know who I am, once I get to know who he is and know who I am, then I can walk in my purpose And ladies and gentlemen, I'm walking in my purpose. I know what my purpose is. I know why he created me. He created me to restore truth to my brothers, to the believers. The problem was when I was a Christian, I was trying to do that for everybody. My focus was not narrow-minded. My focus was wide. I was trying to save everybody. But when you start to dive deep down into the word, you realize, wait a minute. The question I asked myself was, who is this God that I am worshiping? Not who you're worshiping. Who you worship is your own business. Who the church worship is their own business. Who the religion worship is their own business. At the end of the day, I got to stand before this God. So I don't care who the church worship. I don't care who you worship. I don't care who anybody worship. I care about who I worship. So I had to focus on me. I had to be selfish, narrow-minded, focus, so I can look at the one I worship. And when I asked, who is he? And he said to me, do you want to know me? It changed my life. And because I was so widely influenced by every wind of teachings and doctrine in Christianity, I didn't want a chance going outside of the Bible. So I held it up in the air and I said, I want to know you from this. And the voice said, turn to the first page. And when I did that, my life changed. Because from the first time I start to not read the Bible, I start to have the Bible read me. And then I truly start to understand the word, because as he put it in my mind, I had some work to do. I had to go now and research. I had to go now and ask more questions, come up with more answers that kill my understanding, confuse the living daylight out of me, go right back to him again and said, I'm confused. I don't understand this. Show this to me. And then he opening up more scriptures to me. And not once have he ever sent me to the New Testament. Always Old Testament, always Torah, prophets. Because I know the New Testament. I know it well because Christianity is built on New Testament. But here's the message I have for you, Christianity. The very Messiah you claim to follow is not a Christian. The very Lord you claim to follow is not a Christian. The very Lord you claim to pray to, he is not a Christian. There was no Christian when he walked the earth. There was no New Testament when the Messiah walked the earth. So his name could never be called Jesus. See, when you dig, when you seek, you going to find. That is what he command. If you seek me, you shall find me. So if you don't find him, it's one of two things. You already think you have him, or you're not seeking. Because the religion that you are pressed up in has become your salvation, your window, your bridge to him. So as I start exploring and go back to Genesis, I start to put myself as if I was there when he was creating the earth. And I was asking questions. And here's some of the questions I asked. You said, let there be light. And you call it out of darkness. And you saw that it was good. And you separate the light from the darkness. And the light you called day and the darkness you called night. And the evening, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. These are some very important questions here. If the light you call day and the darkness you call night, then how can we go from midnight to start a new day? It didn't make sense to me anymore. See, the theory of a new day starting at midnight didn't make sense to me, because if you even listen to the words that's coming out of your mouth, you will see that we're saying midnight. So how can we call midnight a new day when the light he called day? That's the first question I ask. And I've been reading this my whole life. I can recite it in my mind. I can recite it out loud. But I didn't understand these very fundamental truths. Here was the next question that jumps out of my mind from reading Genesis 1. You said first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. The seventh day you call Shabbat. But you did not call any other day by a name. You did not say Sunday. You did not say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So who add names to the days? Because I read the Bible from front to back, and I've never seen one time in there where anyone called the day Sunday. Clue number 2. Question number 2. So I had to do some research. If God didn't put names to the day, then where did it come from? Go do your own research. I'm not giving you the answers. Go do your own research. When the answer comes back to you, when you ask the question, what is the origin of the name of the days of the week? You're going to be blown away. Now your eyes are going to be open to the commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. I start to understand these false gods and how they integrate themselves into how humanity integrate these gods and start worshiping these gods as gods, and they're no gods at all. And last one, the Shabbat. This day he created different from all the days. You see, there's a couple of things you need to understand about Genesis chapter 1. If you read it to look at it, the first 3 days, he create space. The heavens, he put nothing in it. The sea, he put nothing in it. The earth, he put nothing in it. The only thing in the sea, he called the earth out of the sea. And again, ladies and gentlemen, there's a couple of things you need to understand about Genesis 1, because it changed my life and it's what got me on this trajectory. He spoke to the darkness. And he said, let there be light, and the darkness came out of the darkness. He spoke to the waters that was not gathered, and he said, let it be gathered to one place, and it happened. He spoke to the water and tell the water to bring forth the dry land, and that happened. That's 3 days, no sun, moon, nor stars. So a day is not consist on the solar system. When he created the sun, moon, and star, he said, let them be for what? Signs and seasons. So the stars, the sun, moon, the stars in the heaven is to give you a time, is to give you a season, is to lead you. A sign leads you somewhere. Well, this on-air sign telling you something. A sign tells you something. It's unlocking a mystery. That's why when you drive down the road, you got signs to unlock the mystery of where you are. So the stars in the heavens and the sun and the moon is placed there for a time, because when the creator said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's working numbers, he's working time. He is the great mathematician. He's the great architect. He created all of this. And he has a time frame. And prophecy is time frame. The only difference is that he tells his people what he's going to do beforehand, so they have the information before it happened. That's why we're looked at as crazy. That's why we're looked at as cult. Because we're telling the world something they never heard before, and they think we're just some crazy people who are making crazy noise and trying to get admiration from other people. They don't understand truth. The world hates us. And guess what? We hate the world. We hate the world. We hate the system of the world. That is the world. If you look up the word world, it doesn't mean the spheres. It's a world is a government. We say it in our slang all the time, but we don't know it. Yo, man, that's his world, man. He's in his own world. What does that mean? He's in his own mind, in his own government. So we must understand these things. And so you have to start asking questions. So a day is not consistent, the sun, moon, nor stars. A day is consistent because Yahweh said it is a day. He said the light he called day and the darkness he called night. That's what he said. And when he set this thing in motion, he said, I'm going to put the sun on the fourth day. He said, I'm going to put the sun in the sky to govern the day and the night. Because he had a plan, you see. He had a plan that the day and night wouldn't cover the whole earth at one time. He set it in motion so when it's day over here, it's night over here. And when it's night over here, it's day over here. And so a day consists of 24 hours. Because a day takes 24 hours to govern the earth. So the Shabbat has to be 24 hours. The only difference is, in my understanding back then, is that it starts Friday night on the sixth day at night. No, it actually starts what we call today Sunday morning. Saturday morning into Sunday morning. That's the new day. And there was evening and there was morning. The first day. You notice he never says, and there was evening and there was night. He sets the setup. So these are some things I'm learning. And then he take this, so the first 3 days he create these spaces. The next 3 days he fill these spaces. But here comes seventh day. The seventh day now, what happened? There's an empty space in an empty day. But there's nothing in that day. It's hallowed. Come on, somebody. It's a hallowed day. So why is the day so significant? Because he stands up in it. He sits in the day. That's when he rests. It's the Shabbat of Yahweh. It's not your Sabbath. It's not my Sabbath. It's his. It's the Sabbath of Yahweh. In the King James virus, he said the Shabbat of the Lord thy God. Now we don't use Lord thy God anymore because we understand that that's pagan. The very word Lord is pagan in origin. And we're commanded not even to use the name of these pagan gods. But they put it in our Bible so we can use those names. Think we're worshiping the Creator. We don't know the Creator. And that's why the Creator says, my people. And so we have to look at certain things now. My people. He's calling a specific people. He said, my people. It's not everybody. If I say my wife or my children, am I speaking of all the children of the world? No. If I say my wife, am I speaking of all the women on the planet? No. If I said my car, am I speaking of all the cars on the planet? No. If I say my bike, am I speaking of all the bikes on the planet? No. So when the Father said, my people, he's not speaking of all the people on the planet. That is why he says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why he said that. He's very specific. The God of heaven did not make a covenant with the whole world. He's not the God of this world. He owns the world. He created it. It belongs to him. And the earth shall be filled with his glory. That's what he said. That's what he said. And that's what's going to happen. But he's not the God of this world. And you know why? You know how I know this? Because the world doesn't worship him. And to worship him in spirit and truth, to truly worship him, is to keep his commandments. The world does not keep the commandments of Yahweh. Not even your churches, your religion doesn't keep the commandments of Yahweh. And let me just stick with Christianity, because that's the religion that I was a part of. Christianity teaches you that it's okay to eat pork. And they said, what God has made clean, let no man call unclean. If you go to Genesis, and I tell you, there's a mistranslation in the Genesis story. When Noah came out the ark, that the Father told him to eat everything, that he give all the animals for food. It's a mistranslation. And I'm going to tell you why I know that in my heart that's a mistranslation, because here's the thing. If that was the case, then why would Yahweh told Noah to bring clean animals 7 by 7? And that was before the Leviticus law was written. Nobody's asking these questions. How would Noah know what animals were clean from that which were unclean? Many people think that the law was given at Mount Sinai or Sinai. The law was given from day one. It was just not written down until then. You know why I know this? Did not Cain kill Abel? How could the Father punish Cain for killing Abel if there was no law that said thou shalt not kill? Cain could have killed Abel and be free. But he was punished and ejected from the garden. The ground, Yahweh cursed the ground for his sake. So if there was no law, how would he know that he was guilty? You see, when they ate off the tree of good and evil, they knew all that which was good and all that which was evil. That which is good is a law of Yahweh. That which was evil was breaking the law of Yahweh. So they knew the law. Because when they eat off the tree, they knew everything. Cain knew that if he killed Abel, he was coming into the law, sin. So Noah knew what was clean and unclean. And when Yahweh judged the world in Noah's time, you listen to what he says. Listen to what he says. He said, every inclination of the imagination of their hearts is evil all the time. What is evil? Evil is breaking the commandments of Yahweh. That's what evil is. So they know what they were doing. They just didn't care. And they were at a place where they did not, they were at the place where they were gone. And so Yahweh make a decision. I'm going to wipe them off the face of the earth. And he found grace in this one guy. And because of that one guy, his family was saved. And what did he say about Noah? He says, He has kept my laws, my precept, my charge. So the world was judged because they did not keep his laws. And Enoch and his family were saved because they kept his laws. And so what is he angry about? He told you, men are evil. And he is Elohim. He is our God. He is the highest power. Ain't no power higher than him. You think he's going to share his kingdom with another? He's going to come and clean his house. So how that come down to me today? First page of the Bible, he created one man. And out of that one man, he created all life. All human beings come from one man. And so if you look at the history, have to be a black man. Black man, the first man. If you look, I'm telling you, if you're doing the research, you're going to see this is true. You don't have to take my word from it. Just do the research. The very word Adam means first, but it also means dark earth. You never were taught that. If you look at any color man on the planet today, you have to look at where they came from. What is the source of a human being outside of Yahweh? What is the source of a human being? He was created from the earth. That means Yahweh picked up mud, me pick up dirt, and created the man. So he has to look like me. He has to look like me because my skin look like the earth. I've never seen a white dirt. Never. And if you see it, please post it. But don't take my word for it. Go look and see what your scientists are saying. And I'm not talking about black scientists either. Go look and see what white scientists are saying about the black man, his DNA, his RNA, his origin. These things will tell you his haplogroups. These things will tell you, ladies and gentlemen. We have the DNA structure in our body that create every human being on the planet. But when they do the test, not every human being on the planet has that structure like us. Our very melanin is one of the highest price minerals on earth. That's why we're missing our children. Anyway, let me not get into that. Black man is the first man. You were made to dominate. And the only way this government can dominate you is to keep you locked in here. Because the battle is for you, mine. If you ever know who your God is, and if you ever know who you are, I'm telling you, you'll be a force to be reckoned with. And that's why they kill our prophets and kill our leaders. Because our prophets and our leaders, our true leaders, speak the word of Yahweh. And these killings and murder has happened because he allowed it. He allowed it to happen because he has a plan. Vengeance, he said. Vengeance is mine, and I will repay. Y'all in the churches, y'all preachers, oh, he's a loving God. No doubt he is loving. But he also is a God of vengeance. And he said it belongs to him and he will repay. So now, let's chase the lineage, shall we? I got one message, And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking and speaking to OMPP. If you don't understand what OMPP is, let me break it down for you. Only Middle Passage people. I'm speaking to you. My broadcast system is set up now for you. And that's why other people who cannot trace their lineage through the Atlantic slave trade think I'm racist. I'm not racist. I just understand some things now that I did not understand before. Matthew 15, the Messiah said, and I quote, I was sent only, only, only to the lost sheep of Yahushua. If you don't know what Israel is truly Yahushua. We are the people of the book. They hijack our culture, they hijack our history, and they whitewashed it. And they changed the name from Yahushua to Israel. And what's going on is what they did, and what you don't know is that Israel and El is a triune God. They don't worship the God of heaven. And let me prove that to you. Did not the Messiah told the Pharisees and the Sadducees that you don't know God, that you don't obey and follow Moses or Masha? He told them that, don't it? And he said, if you would know the true God, you would know who I am, because I come from him. He sent me. But you don't know me, nor my Father. Isn't that what he said? I did some study into that. I said, okay, if they don't believe Moses, Masha, that means they don't believe the Torah. They don't believe the prophets. They kill all the prophets. So I said to myself, wait a minute. So if they don't believe Moses, then what do they believe? And I started to do some study into the history of the Jewish nation. Because I used to believe that they are the people of God. I used to believe that. Because I was brought up Christian. And Christianity came out of Judaism. So why wouldn't I not put them ahead of me? So I started looking at some history. They don't believe in the Torah. They carry around it, but they don't believe it. They believe the Talmud, the oral laws. Just go look up that and see what that is. That's what they study most of all. And that has precedent over the Torah. And they call it Torah. We know it to be Torah. It's different. Because our language is Gabare. If I said that right. All right. So we're understanding something totally different. We're seeing something totally different than thanks to a ravenous bird, which was sent from our people to our people to restore the name of Yahweh us, so we can have the true understanding of who he is and who we are. And now we're learning his word from the source language and not some transliteration, King James virus, and other versions of the Bible. So when you look at the history of who we are, and you start looking at the clues, now you got to now start focusing on the clues. So now, okay, so here's the creation. He created this man. The man was lonely. He created a woman out of the rib of the man. He handed the woman back to the man. He gave them a command: be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it. He gave us dominion, kingdom. So Yahweh's intent was to rule the planet through us. That was his original intent, that he will rule the earth through us. He created us for earth. You would say he created the earth for us. And you know what I noticed? Because he said the righteous shall inherit. To inherit something is to own it. So that was his original intent. But when man disobeyed, he said, I don't want your rulership. I don't want your leadership. I will be my own God. Isn't that what they were tempted to do? You shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw it was good for fruit, what did she, for knowledge and for wisdom, and good for food, she ate it. But when she ate it, her eyes didn't open, because the woman was taken out of the men. Her eyes did not open. She was in disobedience, but her eyes did not open. It's when she had hand the fruit to Adam, who was there, who ate the darn fruit. That's when their eyes were open and they saw they were naked. And the first thing they do, hid themselves, put fig leaf over their crotch and hid themselves. And what happened? An investigative judgment happened. The Messiah, the Yahweh came looking for them. Not that he did not know where they were hiding. He knew where they were. And he called to them. And what did they say? I heard your voice. So you see the relationship we had with Yahweh? He used to speak to us. Not from heaven, but he would come straight down here and talk to us. I heard your voice, and I was afraid and hid myself, for I was naked. Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten off the tree that I commanded you not to eat? He didn't take responsibility for his action. He just shifted blame. And who did he blame? Did he blame the woman? Yes, he did. It's the woman you gave me. But who did he really blame? He blamed the father. He blamed the father. It's your fault. It's the woman you gave me. And that, from that time, a chain of events start happening. And man's heart becomes evil and evil. And of course, the Noah story. And then after Noah, he says, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. He gave us a rainbow. That's the first and only covenant. Well, that's a second. That's a second covenant that the Father made with the world. The first covenant was the Shabbat that he rest the seventh day. The second covenant was the rainbow, the promise that he made that to not destroy the earth with flood again. And because you seen a rainbow, it's testimony that he made a covenant with you. You weren't there. Or were you? You were in the bosom of your forefathers. You were there. And the earth becomes populated again after Noah. And what happened? Sin becomes more sinful. Man chose darkness over light. And a king rose up, Nimrod, and he hold the world in apostasy against the creator, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. He hold the world, hijack the world. We ain't obeying this God. No, we're going to stay here in this plane. We're going to build a tower. We're going to go up there. We're going to kill him. Long story short, y'all know the drill. But now let's look at Abraham. The earth is populated again after it's scattered out in their rebellion. The only difference now is that the world is not of one language. The original Gabare. The original language now. Because he add more language. He add more language. That's why you have all these different tongues today. But they scatter into the world with their rebellion and their hatred for the Father. And in that mess, he find one guy who wanted to know who he is, who wanted to keep his laws, who wanted to walk off the line of his forefathers, Noah. Because they know the Noah story. They know the story. It was the ark probably was still there. Because back then men lived 600, 700, 800 years. So we're not talking about men that just know something or heard it passed down. They could see it because they lived long back then. And Abraham wanted to worship God and he wanted to worship the Father. And because of that, they made a covenant. And the world from Adam to today is based upon a covenant to Abram and his descendants. And if you watch my program, you'll hear me tell you, Abram had an illegitimate child with with an Egyptian woman. His name is Ishmael. He's not the promised seed. It was Isaac. When Isaac was born and grew up in the course of time, he too have twin boys. The older, Esau and Jacob. Esau is not of the promise. It was Jacob. Yahoo Kahab. Right? So Esau is rejected and Ishmael is rejected, but they populate the earth. They don't worship the creator. The promised seed was Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons. And that was the 12 tribe of Ya'osheral and the half tribe of Manasseh, which became the 13 tribes of Ya'osheral. And the history goes from there. Where are these people today? We believe, we know where they are, thanks to a ravenous bird. We know that they are OMPP, those who can trace their lineage through the Atlantic slave trade. And you know how we know? Because we looked at the curse of Deuteronomy 28:15 to 68. And this curse was pronounced way before the children was born. Because Yahweh told Abram, your children will be in a land not their own, and they will be enslaved 400 years. And after the 400 years, I will come and drive out the nation they serve as slaves. But if you look at Deuteronomy 28:15 to 68, and you look at the Egypt account, you can see that the Deuteronomy 28 and the Egypt account does not match. Because if you look at the time from when Joseph went to Egypt, from the time when they become slaves, and from the time when Yahweh rescued them, it's not 400 years. So the 400-year span did not come yet, because you have to look and see that Deuteronomy happens way after Exodus 1, 2 to 20. So Deuteronomy is an event that's going to come in the future. You just got to read it. Read Deuteronomy 28, read the whole of it. And the clues that you must look for, you have to look for a people who have suffered 400 years of slavery. You have to look for people who have suffered 400 years of slavery. You have to look for a people that has been brought by ships and scattered amongst all the nation. Because in these things you will find the clues. Must have a 400-year span, must be brought by ships and scattered amongst all the nations. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There's only one people on the planet. And that's why you hear me say only Middle Passage people. Not all black people are included. Abraham was black. Ishmael was black. Esau was black. But he was kind of more red. Damn near white. Okay? You got to look at history and see who the Edomites are. Right? So when you look at the history, there's only one set of people. Africa is not the motherland of creation. It's a Darwin theory that tells you that Africa is the motherland. It's not the motherland. The motherland is right here in the Archipelago Islands in the Philippines. This is where it's all started, in the Philippines. I know, anyway, I don't want to get into that with you, the semantics with you. But if you look at the history of the people of Ya'osheral, the children of Ya'osheral, they were Europeans. They live in Europe. They live in the Philippines, and then they move south and west and east. They move from the east and they move into Africa to find refuge. This is in the course of time. And they found refuge in Africa, and the Africans were the first to sell us into slavery. And then the Portuguese came, and then the Dutch came, and then England came. And then everybody just get a piece of the pie of the slave trade, the industrial age, the conquering age, the new world age. And then you have to go back to Daniel 2. You see, you got to match all these up together because they have to match up. So you go to Daniel 2 and look at Nebuchadnezzar's dream from Babylon back in the 605 BC when Babylon reigned. And you have to look at that now, and you got to go the dream that Yahweh shows Nebuchadnezzar of what was going to happen from his kingdom till the end of the earth. So if you want to understand truth, you have to go back and look in, and you have to follow the historical event to see who are these people. Because the account was that this is huge statue. But it's not like any other statue ever built. See, when a man builds a statue, they build it using the material of itself. So if you build a statue of wood, it's all wood. If you build a statue of stone, it's all stone. Of gold or silver or brass, like the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor is built of all brass. But do you know that that's a pagan god, the god Mithra with the 7 rays, come from France? Do you know who France is today? Do you know who England, Germany, all this world war that was started over the mineral and forces of Africa? You don't understand what's going on here because people don't understand history and how it plays a role in the end, in prophecy and the end of time. So you look at the statue. This statue was different. See, this statue had a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thigh of brass, legs of iron, feet of iron and clay. In that prophecy, a rock was cut out of the mountain, but not by human hands. And it was hurled at the statue, and it struck the statue in the feet, at the toes, and shattered the whole statue, and it all drive away. The trough, the trenchant floor, the wind drive it away. Then after that, the stone that hit the statue become a huge mountain to do what? To fill the whole earth. That means that mountain, that people will inherit the earth. The interpretation of the scriptures, the interpretation of Daniel, the answer, I wouldn't even call it interpretation, but the answers that was revealed to Daniel was that Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom is that head of gold. The next kingdom that will arise inferior was Medes and the Persian kingdom. The Medes and the Persian kingdom. And if you notice the head of gold, where he talks about value, the Medes and the Persians were the kingdom of silver. History have foretold this. And guess what? As it get lesser in value, they become more ruthless and more wicked against the Creator. So the Medes and the Persians conquered the Babylonian kingdom. And then the Greek Empire, which was of brass, look up your history, it's there, conquer the Medes and Persians. And their value system worsened. And then after that, who conquered the Greeks? The Romans. And they stay an empire and they conquer all of Europe. They didn't conquer the whole world. They conquered the known world because they didn't conquer China and they didn't conquer Japan. But they conquered the known world. And then in 476 AD, go look up your history, man. In 476 AD, Rome fell. The Germanic Druids come in and just scatter Rome. The barbarians, they call them, And then Rome fell into 10. It breaks up into 10. And that is the representation of the toes. You understand what's going on here? And out of that 10, 3 was eliminated. History foretold these things. And then the papacy, or Rome, because remember now, it was partly iron and partly clay. They will try to unite themselves, but they will not mix. And out of that, out of Rome comes America. America is Rome. It's built on the Constitution of Rome. That's why you have Senate and you have come on, man. Look at the Vatican. Look at Italy right now, and look at the structure of the buildings there. Look at the Vatican, and then look at the White House. Look at the phallus in Washington, D.C., and there's 3 of them in the world. Look at the phallus. There's one in England, one in America, and one at Rome. It's a system. The system is united against Yahweh. America is Rome. And America is the police of the world. That's why it's the superpower of the world. Subdue everybody. America have more military base in more of these countries than any country of the world. America can start a war from any place in the world. Okay, they're the police of the world. You don't adhere to democracy, they shut you down. You don't play by the rules, they shut you down. And if you don't play by the rules, they shut you down too. So you must understand these truths. So where are we in the dispensation of time? You see, in the time of the Roman Empire, the Messiah was sent to the lost sheep of Yahushua. They had a 70-week prophecy in Daniel where they to bring in everlasting righteousness, but they did not do it. And because they did not do it, the Deuteronomy curse came upon us, and we were sold into slavery, and our house was left to us desolate. We weren't a nation. We didn't govern ourselves. We were always governed by pagans, even to this day. One white brother said to me in one of my chats, he said, "You were never a slave. You were never a slave. And I was never a slave owner. You don't understand covenant, nor do you understand curse. I was never a chattel slave or cattle slave or what chattel slave or whatever they gonna call it. The white man never beat me, because at the time there was a so-called Emancipation Act. But do you know how many people died during the time of the Emancipation Act of 1863? You know how many black men and women got hanged during that time? You don't understand. You don't understand. There was a law that was created, and it's called like the Casualty Debt Law or Casualty Act Law or something like that. And you know what that means? That means if a slave was beaten to death, it was okay. There was a law that protect a slave owner, that if he beat the slaves and the slave died, they wouldn't go to jail. Have any law like that has ever made to your ancestors? I was never beaten by the slave masters, but I was slaved in my mind. We're still slaves in our minds today, and only some of us are free. That is the meaning of what it means to be woke. And you know what? They're outlawing the term woke nowadays. It means that your eyes are open to the reality of who you are in this world. And you start to see yourself, and you start to understand you don't belong to the system of this world. You belong to another system. You don't belong to a democracy. You belong to a kingdom. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, a royal priesthood. These are the words that you are to speak to the children of Yahushua. The covenant and the promise was, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant in deed, then you shall be unto me a peculiar treasure. It comes with a condition. It wasn't grace, it was a condition. If you do this, I'll do this. If you don't do this, I will do this. You find that in Exodus 19, 4 through 6, or 4 through 7. Amos 3, 1. You only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you. We have been punished through slavery for our disobedience. But the time of our redemption is here. It is now. It is us that are the righteousness of Yahweh, not because we're righteous within ourselves, but because He made us righteous. And a new covenant is about to drop on us. But before it can happen, we have to be gathered. You see, everybody like to read the new covenant and they don't understand who it's made with. The covenant is not made with the world. This God is a covenant keeping people. All right, so let's go back to Abraham. Abraham had a son, the first boy, that he concocted with his wife because she was barren. And they thought that was the promise. It's not the promise, but 12 princes come out of him. Then they have Isaac. Isaac have two boys. The first one was hated by Yahweh. The next one was loved. Jacob had 12 tribes, and the 12 tribes went through life until they end up in Egypt, where they prosper in Egypt for a time. And then a new king rose up and enslaved the Egyptian. And then Yahweh came and took them out. And when he took them out, he brought them to the wilderness. See? And there he prepared them by giving them his laws and getting them ready to go possess the land that was promised to them in a contract or covenant to our father, Abraham. The land was actually promised to us, to you and your descendants forever. Forever. Never ending. And so the time has come when they're supposed to be prepared and go back and possess the land, but they were not worthy. And they all died except for the 20-year-olds and younger. And Yahweh raised them up and brought them to the land. And you can read the story from Joshua. And then they go and possess all these lands. And because of their disobedience again, Yahweh didn't wipe out all the nation before them. He left those nations to test them and try them because they're stiff-necked. And that's what we're still feeling the pressures of that today. You read the Psalms. The whole world is in conspiracy against us to cut off our name, to stop us from being a nation. It's written in the darn Bible. This is no joke. Psalms 82, I believe it is. 82 or 92. The whole world is conspired against us. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. The whole world. Let me see. Let me grab this. The whole world is conspired against us. Watch this. You think this is a joke? This is no joke. So when I speak of slavery, I'm not racist. I'm not being racist. I'm just highlighting your racism. And that's what's bothering you. It's not Psalms 82. Probably Psalms 92 or 91. The whole world has conspired against us. It's right here. It's written somewhere here in the Psalms. Can't remember where it is. Can't see these scriptures anymore. My mercy, I will keep that from him. I'll have to search for it. Yep, somewhere in the Psalms. The whole world has conspired against us. The entire world. Oh, yeah. It is Psalms 83. That's why I couldn't find it here. Psalms 83. Just read Psalms 83. Let me read the first couple of pages for you if I can actually see it. Keep not thou silent, O Yahweh. hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yah-O. For lo, twine enemies make a Talmud, which is Talmud is noise, turmoil. Turmoil. It's not. It's like turmoil. It's noise. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They that what? Hate. They hate. The nations hate our God. Watch this. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. So by hating us, they hate our God. Watch this. And consult against thy hidden ones. Are we not hidden? They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yahosheral may be no more in remembrance. You see, in 1964, Israel was reestablished. Who reestablished Israel? Is not America and her allies that established Israel? So who's cut? So if they reestablish Israel, that means they in bed with Israel. But these people cut off our name. Watch this. Verse 6. Psalms 83, verse 6. The tabernacle of Edom. Yeah. Who's the tabernacle of Edom? Who's Edom? That's Isaac, firstborn. And Ishmaelites. Who is Ishmael? That's Abraham, firstborn. It's our brothers that are doing these things for us. Watch this. Of Moab, right? Of the Ammons, Gilbo, Amalek, the Philistine. Who are these people today? Troy, read Psalms 83. They're in conspiracy. They have united the nations against the people of Yahweh. But something is happening, and something has happened. Most people don't know. The God of heaven, Yahweh, is calling his people home. And they're leaving 2 by 2, 1 by 1. One from this family, one from that family. And they're coming to the land of the Philippines, where we can gather in the wilderness, where we can be restored to power to go possess the lands of our forefathers. It's happening. I'm going to play for you a short clip on and let the ravenous bird speak on this. Now, if you haven't heard me spoke about the ravenous bird, this is the prophet of God, prophet of Yahweh, who the man from the east, who Yahweh has prepared in advance to restore his counsel. Now, I'm here in the east. I now live in the Philippines. I suggest you go check out my YouTube page, Now Living in the Philippines. I am here. I left America. I left the land of my enslavement, and I came to the Philippines to renew our power and to spread the glory of our Father who are in heaven. Check this out. Oh, Isaiah 46, Yeshayahu 46, verse 11. And just read 8 through 11, and then you will know of the ravenous bird.
It's talking about when you get into the wilderness. Yes, you have to go to the wilderness again. The same way when you came out of Egypt and you went into the wilderness and made the first covenant, it's the same exact way when you come out of America, which is the modern Egypt, you're going to have to go into the wilderness again. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people. And there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith the Lord God. And I will cause you to pass under the rod. And I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. This young brother, once on fire for teaching and who inspired so many to wake up, stopped teaching some years back and took up aquaponics instead. I hope you'll see this video. He was right about the wilderness, he just didn't know where it is. Ironically, after he stopped teaching and took down his videos from YouTube, he became a tilapia fish fanatic. And tilapia fish just so happens to be an extremely popular fish in the wilderness. So let's talk about the wilderness. First, let's reread the scripture that the brother just read from Ya'o Chazakal, aka Ezekiel, chapter 20, verses 34 to 38. Wahotzathe avcham man haramem, wa kabatzte avcham man haaratzoth, ashar napotztham bam, bayad chazakah, wabazoroa natoeh, wabachama shapocha. And I will cause you to exit out from the nations, and I will gather you out from the countries which you were scattered in them by a strong hand and by an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out. That was verse 34 of chapter 20. The last clause in this verse, Wakabaste adcham man haaratzoth ashar napotztam bam, bayad chazaka wabazoroa natoeh, Bahama Shapocha, that clause is not describing how Yahweh is going to gather his people out of the lands of their captivity. It's describing how he scattered them to those places. OMPP, only Middle Passage people, were scattered to the lands of their captivity with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out. That's how you were scattered. That's not how he is going to gather you. Verse 35. Wahabate avcham al madbar haramem, wanashapate avcham sham, panem al panem. And I will cause you to be brought to the wilderness of the nations, and I will be pleaded of you there face to face. So verse 34 tells us Yahweh is going to cause his people to exit the nations where he scattered them in his wrath. And verse 35 tells us he's going to cause them to be brought to a place called the wilderness of the nations. Now, is the wilderness of the nations everywhere? No, it can't be, because it has to be a place where Yahweh gathers his people together, effectively reversing their dispersal. Is it a state of the mind? No, it cannot be, because these two verses clearly indicate a literal migration from physical localities in captivity among the diaspora to a single physical place. So why would it be called the wilderness of the nations? Because all nations can trace their origins back to this place. It is humanity's original habitat, contrary to the out of Africa theory conjured up by Darwinian evolutionists, pseudoscientists, which has people thinking the Garden of Eden was somewhere in Africa. The true location is an archipelago in the Far East. I will prove that as we continue. Verse 36. Cha'ashar nashapate ath abothecham b'madbar aratz Mitzrayim chan shapat athcham na'am adonai Yahweh. Like as I was pleaded by your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mitzrayim, so will I be pleaded of you, says the Lord Yahweh. The wilderness of Mitzrayim refers to the desert between the Nile Valley and the Red Sea. As our people crossed that desert and reached the Red Sea, the Egyptian army caught up to our people, and we began to plead with Yahweh to deliver us, and he did.
Jeremiah 28:14 is amazing, man. Thank you, Reagan Black. That was powerful.
Verse 37. Wahabate avcham tachat hashabat, wahabate avcham bama sarath habareth. And I will cause to pass you under the rod, and I will bring you in from defection of the covenant. According to Leviticus 27 and 32, a shepherd makes his sheep to pass under the rod for the purpose of counting them one by one. What this tells us is that Exodus is not going to be a dramatic and televised 1 million man march in the course of one day. Rather, Yahweh is going to pick and choose from the masses of his people and cause a select remnant to go to the second wilderness one by one, just as sheep pass under the rod one by one. This is confirmed by Yeram Yao, aka Jeremiah, chapter 3 and verse 14. ולקחתי אבכם אחד מהגר, ושניהם מהמשפחה, והבאתי אבכם ציון. And I will take you one from a city and two from a family, and I will bring you, O Sion. Notice there is no preposition to before the word Sion or Zion in the source language. The word to is added in the English translations, and it is wrong. The woman Sion is being addressed in this verse with a vocative expression, and she is being told by Yahweh that he is going to gather her one by one from a city and two by two from a family. He is bringing her out of the lands of her captivity in the west to the land of the second wilderness, which is where she has to go prior to her return to the promised land. The prophet Yeshayahu, aka Isaiah, also confirms that the last Exodus will be a one-by-one movement. It will not be a million-man rush to the door to get out all at once. Wahe bayom haho yachabat yao mashabalat hanar gad nachal matsrem wa'atham fa lakato la'achad bane yao shar'a wahe bayom haho yathakai bashopar gadol waba'o ha'abadem ba'aretz ashur wa'hanadachem ba'aretz matsrem wa'hashatach o'o la'ya'o ba'har hakadash ba Yerushalayim. And it will come to pass in that day, Yahweh will beat off from the stream of the river unto the brook of Matzraim, and you will be collected one by one, O children of Yahushua. And it will come to pass in that day, the great shofar will sound, and they will come, the ones perishing in the land of Ashur, and the outcasts in the land of Matzraim, and they will worship Yahweh in the holy mountain in Yerushalayim. These two verses cannot be talking about ancient Matzraim, Egypt, or ancient Ashur, Assyria. The subject is the lands of pyramids in the New World in the West, which is modern-day Matzraim and modern-day Ashur, to the people of Yahushua who were brought there by slave ships during the transatlantic slave trade in fulfillment of the curse of Deuteronomy 28 and 68. The imperfect verb yachabat, meaning he will beat off, refers to the act of threshing with a stick. A person uses a stick to beat the leaves and branches of a tree in order to make the fruit fall from the branches so he can collect the fruit as it falls to the ground. Verse 12 is telling us that Yahweh is going to do this from the stream of the river unto the brook of Matzraim and collect people one by one. Now, these two landmarks, stream of the river and brook of Matzraim, these are bodies of water at opposite ends of each other. And therefore, what we are dealing with is the extent of the New World from South America with its massive Amazon River to North America with its massive Missouri River. It is the New World in the West in its entirety from south to north. All of the prophets knew that the nation of Yahushua will be collectively brought by ships as slaves to the lands of pyramids in the New World. Verse 13 tells us the movement of the people one by one will begin when the great shofar is sounded, and then the ones perishing in the land of Ashur and the outcasts in the land of Matzraim will leave on their own. Ashur and Matzraim in this verse are prophetically the same place, i.e. the New World. Notice all four quarters of the world are not in view here. Only the New World in the West is. This is where the people of Yahushua are perishing and where they are outcasts. These two verses describe their exodus out of the New World. The sound of the great shofar is what gets them moving, and this sound can be nothing other than the name Yahweh. It is the return of the name after centuries of absence, which initiates this exodus movement. The last part of verse 13 says, they will worship Yahweh in the holy mountain at Jerusalem. This is where people can easily become confused.
The prophets have already made it clear that the remnant of Ya'osharah will not go straight from the lands of their captivity to the promised land. They must go to the wilderness first, just like their ancestors did right after the first Exodus. So the holy mountain and Jerusalem in this verse is not the geographical Jerusalem that lies in ruins today. The holy mountain and Jerusalem in this verse is referring to the woman Seon, who gathers herself together in the second wilderness and builds her own city. This will be the holy mountain and Jerusalem, where she will worship Yahweh until she is ready to leave the wilderness and reclaim the promised land.
It's talking about when you get into the wilderness. Yes, you have to go to the wilderness again. The same way when you came out of Egypt and you went into the wilderness and made the first covenant, it's the same exact way when you come out of America, which is the modern Egypt, you're going to have to go into the wilderness again.
The last part of Ya'o Chazak al 20 and 37 that we didn't explain is the phrase Hab'athe avcham ba'masarath ha'bareth, and I will bring you in from defection of the covenant. The English translations read bond of the covenant, and this is wrong. The Ghabari word in question does not mean bond unless one assumes it is a spelling error. The lexicons conjecture that it is, and that the root word is asar, which means bind, fetter, shackle, or imprison. The obvious problem with this assumption is that the covenant is not a fetter, shackle, or handcuff, nor is it a prison. Keeping the covenant for Ya'osharah is
Freedom.
life. The correct root word
True
is not
freedom.
asar. The correct word is sarah, which means turning aside and defection. The word appears in this verse in the construct state with a particle prefix and a preposition. What the prophet is saying in this verse is that the second wilderness is the place where Yahweh brings his people into full compliance with the covenant he made with their ancestors in the first wilderness in the 15th century BC. He will bring them in from defection of that covenant, meaning they will keep the covenant this time and they will never depart from it nor turn aside from it ever again. The prophet Yoram Ya'o says the same thing, and he says it does not happen until the remnant relocates to the second wilderness. Yoram Ya'o, aka Jeremiah, chapter 31, verses 1 and 2. Ba'ath ha'he na'am Ya'o, a'e la'ale'em lachal mashpachoth Ya'o shar'al, wahama Ya'eo le lagam, cha'ama Ya'o, matzchan b'madbar ram sharede charab, haloch lahar ge'io Ya'o shar'al.
Wow.
In that time, says Yahweh, I will be for the Alaim to all the families of Ya'osharah, and they will be to me for a nation. Thus says Yahweh, it found grace in the wilderness. The nation escaped of the sword, when I went to cause it to rest, Ya'osharah. It's interesting how Christianity in the Greek New Testament has misled people and has them thinking to skip over these two verses in this chapter and jump straight to verse 31, which talks about the new covenant. But as you can see, according to Yoram Ya'o, there won't be a new covenant until after the remnant of Ya'osharah relocates to the second wilderness. That is where their curses end. That is where they find grace. That is where Yahweh causes them to rest, not before. Just as the first covenant was not made until the people exited Mitzrayim and went to the wilderness, the new covenant, which is simply the same first covenant but renewed and written on the heart, will not be made until the remnant exits the new world and moves to the second wilderness. Verse 38. Wa marote macham ha maradem wa ha pasha'em be ma'aratz magoreham otse otham wa al adamath ya'oshar'al la yabo wa yadaitham che'ane ya'o. And I will purge from you the ones who rebel and the ones who transgress against me. From the land of their wandering I will bring them forth, but to the land of Ya'oshar'al not will he come, and you will know that I am Yahweh. This is a very important verse of the wilderness scriptures. It tells us that there is only one correct wilderness location. There are not several different wilderness locations. it tells us that Yahweh is going to purge the rebels and transgressors from among his chosen remnant. These people will be brought forth from the new world. But notice carefully that the verse does not say they will be brought to the wilderness. They are not going to the wilderness. These are OMPP claiming the heritage, but disobeying Yahweh's instructions.
Wow.
They are doing their own thing and making up their own way. This verse says, when we see this, we will know that he is Yahweh, and we are already seeing it. Many OMPP are leaving the new world, but they are going everywhere except where the prophets tell us we must go. That is Yahweh, and that is his purge. When the woman has finished her time in the second wilderness and she returns to the promised land, verse 38 tells us the rebels and the transgressors will not be allowed to participate in the return to our land. If you're just interested in your own individual success and happiness, then you do whatever you want. You go wherever you want to go. But if you wish to be a part of the restoration that Yahweh is doing for his chosen remnant, a restoration that will ultimately put them in charge of this world, then you must follow his plays from his playbook. You cannot make up and run your own plays. You must do exactly what Yahweh is telling you to do and go exactly where he is telling you to go.
It's talking about when you get into the wilderness. Yes, you have to go to the wilderness again. The same way when you came out of Egypt and you went into the wilderness and made the first covenant, is the same exact way when you come out of America, which is the modern Egypt, you're going to have to go into the wilderness again.
He was right about this. I'm going to keep saying it because I want him to know he was right. But how do I know I'm right about the location of the second wilderness? How do I know it is an archipelago? Yeshayahu, aka Isaiah, chapter 41 and verse 1. Hach resho ale'em, wala amem yach lebo hach, yagasho az yadabaro yachado lamashpat nakarabah. Keep silent before me, islands,
I love it.
and the people will renew strength. They will approach, then they will speak together. For judgment, let us come near.
Alalawat. Yeah.
The only reason the Allah aim of Yahweh Shar'al would be telling a group of islands to be silent, to be quiet, to shut up, so that his people can renew strength is because that archipelago is the second wilderness where their strength will be renewed. This group of islands is ordered by Yahweh to let the restoration of his nation take place in their own country. The people will come, and they will come together for judgment to keep the commandments of Yahweh. So there is no doubt that the second wilderness is an archipelago. But how do I know this archipelago is in the Far East?
Come on now.
Yeshayahu, chapter 24, verse 15. Rochan, ba'orim chabado Yahweh, ba'e hayam, sham Yahweh, alae Yahweh Shar'al. Therefore, in the fires, glorify Yahweh. In the islands of the sea, the name Yahweh, the Alaim of Yahweh Shar'al. The word Oraim in this verse, translated fires, refers to the sunlight that shines from the Far East. It is the ultimate origin of the word Orient. This verse is a command to the remnant of Yahweh Shar'al that they must glorify Yahweh in an archipelago of the sea in the Far East. This is a direct order, not a suggestion. There is only one archipelago of the sea in the Far East where the name Yahweh has been reintroduced to the world by Yahweh through a ravenous bird, and from where that name is now being proclaimed to OMPP in the West, and that is the Philippines. The true name returns from an archipelago in the Far East. This is how you know these other names are fake. Did the name Jehovah come out of here? No. Did the name Yahweh come out of here? No. Did the name Yahweh come out of here? No. Did the name Yahuwah come out of here? No. Did the name Ahaya come out of here? No. The only name that has come out of the Far East from an archipelago of the sea is the name Yahweh that I started proclaiming, and that name is now being praised by OMPP in the West. Like it, don't like it, it's a fact. The first wilderness was the place where Moshe received the answer to the question, Mashemo, what is his name? The second wilderness is the place from where that name returns to the world. That is your beacon. That is your rallying point. The place where he has chosen to put his true name. If his name is not Yahweh, nothing I teach is valid. If his name is Yahweh, and it most certainly is, then the second wilderness is located in the Philippines and nowhere else. So what is the second wilderness for? Why does the remnant need to go there? Because we cannot be restored as a people within the lands of our captivity in the new world. That is not why Yahweh brought us there by ships. He brought us there to be punished and to show us no favor. Yeram Yahweh, aka Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 13. Wahatlathe afcham magal ha'aratz haza'ath gal ha'aratz asher la yadaitham afam wa'abathecham wa'chabatam sham af aleim acharem yomam wa'leila asher la athan lacham chanena. And I will cause you to be thrown out from upon this land, upon a land which you do not know, you or your fathers, and you will serve there other gods, day after day and night, which I will not give you favor. And this one verse sums up your history in the New World ever since you arrived on those slave ships in the 15th century AD, and ever since you embraced the religions and the idolatry of your slave masters. Nothing you've done to try to uplift yourselves as a people has worked. This is because Yahweh is not allowing you to prosper and to be successful as a people in that land. You are under curses in that land. The second wilderness is where your curses will finally stop. They don't stop as long as you stay there. You have to leave. And this is why the prophets command you to leave. Mecha, aka Micah, chapter 2 and verse 10. Como wallacho chelaza'ath hamanucha, ba gabor tam'ah, tha chabal wa chabal namaratz. Get up and get out, for this is not a resting place, because it is polluted. It will destroy, even a grievous destruction. This verse proves that no one is coming to get you. You must be proactive, obey the voice of Yahweh, and leave on your own. Zachar Yahweh, aka Zechariah, chapter 2 and verse 7. Ho'e Tseon, Hamlate Yoshabath Bath Babal. Woe, Tseon, deliver yourself, the one dwelling with the daughter of Babylon. The daughter of Babylon is the New World, and specifically the United States of America,
The who?
the strongest
The
nation on earth.
daughter
You
of
must
Babylon.
deliver yourself. Deliver yourself from her. This does not mean that you will do it all alone. Yahweh is with you and he will guide you. But it does mean you cannot just sit on your hands and wait. You yourself must take concrete steps, save your money, plan accordingly, and get yourselves out. Get yourselves out and get to the wilderness. Even though you have to be proactive and not sit around waiting for the sky to open, and even though you are commanded to deliver and to save yourself, it is Yahweh who is causing you to do this. He is the one gathering you because you are choosing to obey his voice. He will help you and remove obstacles out of your way. He is the one alluring you to leave and causing you to go to the second wilderness. Hoshai, aka Hosea, chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. Lachan, Hana, Anachem Abatheha, Wa Holachteha Hamadbar, with the Barte Gal Labha, Wa Nathathe Laha, Af Charameha Masham, Wa Af Chamach Rachol Bathach Thako, Wa Ghanatha Shama, Cha Yame Na Oreha, Wa Chayom Galata Ma'aretz Matzreim. Therefore, behold, I am the one alluring her, and I will cause her to go to the wilderness, and I will speak upon her heart. And I will give to her her own vineyards from there, and the valley of Rachor for a door of hope. And she will sing there like the days of her youth, and like the day she came up out of the land of Matzrayim. It's a two-way street. He allures you and speaks upon your heart. And if you respond accordingly and deliver yourself, then he gets all the credit for gathering you and bringing you to the second wilderness. And you're not going there to twiddle your thumbs. You are going there to establish your own base, your own city, with your own land and your own vineyards. And you will dwell set apart in an exclusive area just for you. And Yahweh will rebuild you as a nation there, and you will sing there like the day when he delivered your forefathers from the first Matram and the first
Hello,
house of
yeah.
bondage. The
Oh,
second wilderness is a valley of Rachor, aka Achor, and a door of hope for you, because the valley of Rachor in our history is where Yahweh turned from the fierceness of his wrath against his people. In the second wilderness, there will be no more wrath. Instead, Yahweh is going to bless you, make you wealthy and powerful, and transform you into the strongest nation on earth.
It's talking about when you get into the wilderness. Yes, you have to go to the wilderness again. The same way when you came out of Egypt and you went into the wilderness and made the first covenant, it's the same exact way when you come out of America, which is the modern Egypt, you're going to have to go into the wilderness again.
Yahweh is the one who cursed you, and he is the only one who can uncurse you. He alone knows how to bind up your wounds as a people. He alone knows exactly what medicine to prescribe for you. You need quiet and secure dwellings. Dwellings where you are never worried if your loved ones make it home at night. Dwellings where you are never concerned about your child playing outside with a toy gun, but gunned down by an officer who pretends his life was in danger and that your child had a real gun. You need to leave those lands in the West where you have no bargaining chips or leverage of any kind, in a system designed to gentrify, kill, and incarcerate as many of you as it possibly can, and to go where Yahweh tells you to go. The city you will have in the second wilderness is talked about in many places by the prophets. Yeshayahu, aka Isaiah, chapter 32, verses 15 to 20. Chad Yaira Chaleno Roch Mamarom, Wahe Madba Lacharamal, Wahacharamal Layair Yachashab, Wa Shechan Bamadbar Mashpat, Wa Sadaka Bacharamal Tasha, Wahe Maisha Hatsadaka Shalom, Wa Rabataf Hatsadaka Hashkat, Wabatach Radkolam, Wayashab Rame Bano Shalom, Waba Mashachanoth Mabatach Em, Waba Nochaf Sha'ananoth, Wabarad Baradath Hayair, Waba Shapala Tashapal Ha-Rer, Asherechem Zarae Chal Mem, Mashalache Ragal Hashur, Wahachamor, until power will be poured out upon us from on high, and the wilderness will be a vineyard, and the vineyard will be reckoned a wooded mountain, and judgment will dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness will remain in the vineyard, and the righteous work will be shalom, and righteous service will be quietness and security always. And my nation will dwell in a habitation of shalom, and in secure dwellings, and tranquil resting places, even when it hails falling down, the wooded mountain, and in the low place, it will fall beneath the city. Blessed are you, the ones sowing beside all waters, the ones sending forth the foot of the ox and the ass. The power of Yahweh will be poured out upon you in the second wilderness, and you will be a vineyard in a wooded mountain where judgment and righteousness dwells. You will live securely in habitations of shalom. Even if there is a hailstorm up in your elevated mountain city, the hail will fall lower than your city. You will be blessed to sow fields by abundant water sources, and you will own your own livestock. Once you are alone and set apart unto Yahweh, he will heal you. You already know how to build successful businesses, companies with multi-million-dollar brands. You know how to grow. You know how to take care of your own. But Yahweh does not want it to take place in the lands where he shipped you to be slaves. He will make it happen in the second wilderness where you will keep his covenant.
Hallelujah. Yeah. Oh.
Mecha, aka Micah, chapter 7, verse 14. Ra Ramcha, Bashabatcha Tza'an Nachalavcha, Shachane Labadad Yair, Bathoch Charamal, Yarao Bashan Wagalai, Cha Yame Rolam. Feed your nation with your rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwells isolated in the wooded mountain, in the midst of a vineyard. They will feed Bashan and Gilead like the days of old. The prophets keep repeating that the remnant of Yahushua will take up residence in a wooded mountain where they will be a self-contained city and they will have a fruitful vineyard. This is the second wilderness where the nation will be fed and nourished back to health. Its strength will be completely revived and renewed there. Bashan and Gilead were the places in the Holy Land best suited for livestock and cattle. The best of the best livestock came from these places. They are mentioned here because the remnant will be the best of the best. They will possess their own livestock in their own vineyards way up in their set-apart wooded mountain city. They do not come to mix and to mingle, nor to assimilate. They come to set themselves apart and to dwell solitarily. We've established that there is a second wilderness that the remnant of Yahushua must go to. We've established where this second wilderness is, why you must go, and what things you will be doing with yourselves while you are there until it is time for you to leave and return to the promised land. The prophets even describe the mode of travel that you will use in order to get to the wilderness. Even that detail is mentioned. Zechariah chapter 5, verses 5 to 11. Wayatz ha-malach hadabarbe wayamar ale shahna chenecha wa-ra'ah ma hayotz'ath haza'ath wa-amar ma he'ah wayamar za'ath ha'eva hayotz'ath wayamar za'ath reinam b'chal ha'aratz wahana chachar gat parath nash'ath waza'ath ha'sha'achath yoshabach b'thol ha'eva wayamar za'ath harashayh wayashalach atha al tocha epa, vayashalach af aban ha-raparath al peha, wa asha rene wa ar, wa hana, shatem nashem yotza uth, wa roch ba chanape ham, wa lahana, chanapem chanape ha-chaseda, wa tashana af ha-epa, bein ha-aratz, wa bein ha-shemem, wa amar al ha-malach hadabarbe, anna hama mola choth af ha-epa, Wayamar ale, labanoth laha, beith ba'aratz shanayer, wahochan, waha nechasham, gal machanatha. And went forth the angel, the one speaking with me, and he said to me, Lift up please your eyes and see. What is this that is going forth? And I said, What is it? And he said, That is the Aba that is going forth. And he said, That is their eye in all the land. And behold, a talent of lead lifted up, and this one woman sitting in the midst of the Aba. And he said, This is the wicked. And he sent her into the midst of the Aba. And he sent the stone of lead to its mouth. And I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, two women coming out, and wind in their wings, and to them wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the Aba between the earth and between the heaven. And I said to the angel, the one speaking with me, To where are these bearing the Aba? And he said to me, To build for her a house in the land of Shanair, and it will be established and set up there upon her own base. In the first part of this much discussed but little understood vision, the prophet is told to behold an Aba going forth. An Aba is a container or receptacle for holding dry goods such as flour, grain, or corn. As the prophet beholds the Aba going forth, the angel tells him, This is their eye in all the land. Then we are told there is a woman inside the Aba and a stone of lead on the cover. The first part of the vision obviously deals with the forced migration that Yahushua had to endure, which ultimately landed them in the lands of pyramids in the New World in the West as slaves. That was their eye in all the land, meaning their collective fate as a nation. In the second part of the vision, the prophet sees what looks like two women with wings like a stork, and they lift up the Aba and fly it away. The message is clear. You were brought by ships to the New World for punishment of your wickedness. That was the Aba going forth in the first part of the vision. But you will leave the New World by air travel, according to the second part of the vision. The two women fly the Aba to a place called Shanair. This word is the word that the flood survivors gave to the Fertile Crescent after they migrated from the Ark's landing in the east on the tallest mountain in the world. It is not a Sumerian word, and it is not an Akkadian word. The word has no cognate in any language. It is Shapah Borora, the pure language, i.e. Ghabare. The only reason Masha would say that the first name of Mesopotamia after the Great Flood was Shanair in Genesis 11:2, when this isn't a Sumerian or Akkadian word, is because the language before and immediately after the Great Flood prior to the Tower of Babel was not Sumerian or Akkadian. The language before and immediately after the Great Flood, prior to the Tower of Babel, was the language Yahweh spoke to Moshe with. Shanair combines the particle prefix Shah with the noun Nair. The word means that which is nascent. It is an appropriate word to describe both the lush and well-watered region in the Far East where Nach, aka Noah, lived prior to the flood, as well as what became the new ground zero for humanity and the cradle of civilization after the flood, because the Fertile Crescent was initially the best place in the world to grow newly domesticated plants and crops after the flood. And since Shanair is really a pre-flood word, a word that the flood survivors brought with them from the east after the ark landed on the mountains of Ararat, aka Mount Everest, the word Shanair originally described the most fertile part of the world prior to the Great Flood. That part of the world is in the Far East where the Garden of Gadan or Eden existed. This proves by scripture that the second wilderness is called the wilderness of the nations because it is where the Garden of Gadan was located, the original habitat of man. The two women in the vision, who are really machines that fly, i.e. jumbo jets, they carry the woman to Shanair to build her a house and to establish her there upon her own base. This is what the second wilderness is for. It is for you to have your own base where you will be left alone so that you may be restored and raised to your feet as a nation. You were brought to the New World by slave ships. Your exodus out of the New World will be in airplanes.
Wow. Wow.
Let's back up the mode of travel with modern airplanes using another scripture so that we have at least two witnesses.
Come on now.
Then we will discuss the time of the Exodus by when the remnant should prepare to depart and move to the second wilderness. Hoshai, aka Hosea, chapter 11, verses 10 and 11. Achere Yao Yalacho, Cha'are Yasha'ag, Cheho Yasha'ag, O Yacharado Banem Mayam, Yacharado Chat Sopor Mamatzraim, Wachat Yonah Ma'aretz Ashur, Wahoshabathe Gal Batheham Na'am Ya'o. After Ya'o will they walk, and like a lion he will roar. For he will roar, and they will be startled, the children from the west. They will be startled, like a bird out of Mitzrayim, and like a dove out of the land of Ashur. And I will cause them to be put upon their own homes, says Yahweh. The children from the west are none other than OMPP brought to the west by slave ships to modern-day Mitzrayim and Ashur, which is North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. They will be startled like birds and fly out of those lands after they hear Yahweh roar like a lion. The lion's majestic roar was designed by Yahweh, and the lion's roar produces the pronunciation of his holy name. This prophecy is telling us that when the name above all names returns, the true name, and the children in the west hear it, it will be a roar that startles them and stirs them up, and like birds who hear a loud noise, they will take off and fly.
Yep.
Where are they flying to? To the second wilderness, where Yahweh will put them in their own homes, in their own city, rebuild them as a nation, and prepare them to reclaim the promised land.
It's talking about when you get into the wilderness. Yes, you have to go to the wilderness again. The same way when you came out of Egypt and you went into the wilderness and made the first covenant is the same exact way when you come out of America, which is the modern Egypt, you're going to have to go into the wilderness again.
When should the remnant go to the wilderness? With all of these scriptures that we've gone over, which talk in such great detail about the second wilderness, And there are many more I didn't discuss in order to keep this video from being too long. There should be a time given in the scriptures for when the last Exodus is due to begin. And sure enough, there is. Yeshayahu, aka Isaiah, chapter 30, verses 26 and 27. Wahe or halabana chaor hachama. Waor hachama ya'e shabaitem chaor shabaitayimem bayom chabash ya'o av shabaramo wamachatz machato yarab. Hana sham ya'o ba mamarachak bar apo wachabad mash'ah shabateo mal'ao zaim walashono cha'ash achalaf. And it will come to pass, the light of the moon is like the light of the sun, and the light of the sun will be sevenfold, like the light of 7 days. In the day, Yahweh is the one binding up the bruise of his nation, and the stroke of its beating he will heal. Behold, the name Yahweh comes from far away, burning in its anger, and the burden is heavy. Its lips are full of indignation, and its tongue is like a devouring fire. The prophecy is obviously not literal. Why? Because if the moon's light were ever to increase to the intensity of the sun's light, and if the sun's light were ever to be increased sevenfold, the oceans would evaporate and the earth would be incinerated. That's why. But the solution is nearby. The moon and the sun are signs for time reckoning according to Genesis 1:14. The biblical year is 364 days because the basic unit of time is the 7-day week, instituted at creation, and there are 52 weeks in a year. In order for the light of the moon to be as the light of the sun, you need to have 3,636 mean synodic months in the course of 294 years. This amounts to a minimum of 107,373 lunar days and a maximum of 107,380 lunar days. That's the number of days it takes for the light of the moon to be as the light of the sun, because the sun accumulates 107,380 days in the course of 294 years. In other words, the lunar equivalent of the biblical 364-day calendar in 294 years is 3,636 lunar months. Therefore, the light of the sun is a 294-year period, because that's how many years it takes for a 364-day calendar to realign and harmonize with the sun's motion after 364 days or 52 weeks have been added to the calendar in the course of 294 years. When you multiply the light of the sun sevenfold, the resulting figure is 2,058 years. The figure 2,058 years is 42 Jubilee cycles of 49 years each. What this scripture, an encrypted message in a bottle, is telling you is that Yahweh will begin to bind up the bruise of his nation and heal the stroke of its beating after a period of 2,058 years of bruises and beatings have run their course over his people. So when did a period of 2,058 years of bruises and beatings of our people begin? They began when the Edomite, Herod the Great, captured Yerushalayim with the aid of the Romans in 36 BC. An Edomite became king over you in your own land, and you have been beaten, bruised, and wounded ever since.
Oh, yeah.
These beatings have followed you all the way to
Who are
the
the
land of
Edomites?
pyramids in the New World, where
Go look it
Yahweh
up.
brought all 13 tribes of you by ships to make you collectively suffer Egyptian-style slavery all over again. And your beatings didn't stop with Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, did they? We are currently living in the 42nd Jubilee cycle. It began in the year 1975. It ends in the year 2023. That is why the holy name Yahweh returned from far away at the end of this period and blazed forth from the far east where the sun rises via a ravenous bird. The name did not come back with hugs and kisses, high fives, serenades, and lollipops. It came back with rage. It came back with a tongue of fire. 2023 is not the end of the world. UFOs will not be coming to get you. But if you are part of the remnant and you long to return to the keeping of the covenant, 2023 is the year you need to be in the second wilderness, because that is the year Yahweh begins to bind up the wounds of his nation. Some will come before 2023. Others will continue to come after 2023. But that is the year of the Exodus and the year of the establishment of Mount Seon upon her own base in the second wilderness.
And I can't turn back the hands of time.
All right, there you have it. You do with that whatever you want. Me and my house, we're here. We're here in the wilderness. And I can tell you, we're not in the wilderness yet. We're in the Philippines. Wilderness mean a uninhabited place. But the archipelago islands right here of the sea is where Yahweh command us to be. I'd rather be here and nothing happen than to be there and something happen. The alternative is still the best. I have never been free. I never felt freer than me living here. I tell you the truth, especially for OMPP, we are highly respected here. Highly respected. Um, we're like kings and queens here. No joke. The service here is excellent. We, I just can't express to you the level of that we're experiencing here. The food, amazing. The view, beautiful. Sunshine all the time. It's just wonderful. We were getting ready to go out on the sea. I got my drone now, so I'm going to be showing you guys some really nice shots and show you what I'm seeing. So I got my drone and I'm getting ready to go do some great stuff. So don't forget to follow me on Now Living in the Philippines. Now Living in the Philippines. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. But the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is this is the time of our Exodus, right? Between 24, the next Jubilee cycle, he never talked about it here. The next Jubilee cycle is in 2024. So between 2024 and 2027, there could be a collapse of the American system. And I'm not going to stay in there to find out, you know? I'm not going to stay here to find out. Definitely the New Testament is idolatry. I'm 100% believing in that. However, not many of our OMPP captive are in understanding because they're so fixed in religion. They have to understand these simple truths. But, start with there. Go do your own research. Go pray about what you heard. Speak to Yahweh. Call upon the name of Yahweh. Yaoh. Call upon his name. See what happened. Taste and see that he is good. As for, like I said, as for me and my house, we're already here. Man, I'm telling you, I'm loving it. I wish we had lived here 10 years prior to this. But, man, it's just incredible. Start getting your passport together because there's such an influctuation of people applying for passport that your 2 weeks, 3 weeks wait is now probably 2 months. So start getting your paperwork together. Get out here. You're going to get a big welcome at the airport. And we got a structure of family, man. It's just amazing. People are just so overwhelmed with just joy that the celebration seems like it's wild. So if you are seeing some celebration and it seems like it's wild, it's because people are free in their hearts and they're overzealous for the name Yahweh. So, but come and see. The family structure is beautiful here. And yes, we're not a cult. We are the children of Yahushua, being chosen and handpicked by Yahweh because we heard his name and we respond to it. And because we respond to it, he's now responding to us. Come on over, man. We'll wait for you. It's going to be awesome. All right. Peace. Thank you guys very much.